Welcome, and today I'm going to be filming the repeat instructions for the Picot crochet shawl. And this shawl is worked with yarn from We Crochet, which I absolutely love. It's the Hawthorne Tonal as well as the Mohair, the Aloft Mohair worked in here. So the yarn I'm going to be using today though, just because sometimes it can be hard to see these stitches in an instruction video, is I'm going to be doing it in a comfy worsted cotton, a little bit thicker of a yarn so you can see my stitches. And I will indicate when you will be working with 2 strands held and then just with the tonal fingering weight yarn. So you'll see that the sections that the mohair is not throughout, it's only on certain sections where we are holding the yarn together. When it comes to the sections in between here, we are not, we are just working the fingering weight alone. So I will be showing you how to get started with this first section, and then I will be doing 1 set of repeats, and then it's just repeating after that. And then we have this Picot edging, which is a nice small detail, as well as some tassels on the end. This entire pattern and written instruction is on my blog as well. So let's get started. So today I will be using an H hook, which is also the same size used on the shawl. This is a Furrows Streamline, which I absolutely love. They're each a little bit different, and I have that affiliate link on my blog. And to get started, we're going to do a magic circle. If you've never done one, I also have a demonstration of that on my blog as well. So to get started, we are going to chain 4. And now we are going to double crochet 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Whoop, came undone there. So there's my 3rd double crochet. And then we are going to chain 2, and we are going to double crochet 3 again. So 1, 2, 3, and then we are going to chain 1, double crochet 1 more, and then turn. And this is where we can go ahead and also pull our magic ring closed. This is the top edge of our shawl, and notice as we pull that tightly closed, it creates a really nice start to this shawl. We can already see where it's going to be shaped like a triangle. So now we will turn for row 2, and we will be working a chain 4. Now, just to mention here, rows 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, the first 5 rows, when you're working it as written in the pattern, you will be working with 2 strands together. You'll be working the mohair yarn together with the fingering weight yarn. So I'm doing it with 1 strand, but in the pattern it indicates when you will be holding both those strands together for which rows. Now we will double crochet 3 into this first chain space. And then we're going to chain 1. And then in this next chain 2 space, which is our center chain, we will be working 3 double crochets. So we're going to double crochet 3. And then we are going to chain 2 and double crochet 3 again. And all of those stitches go into that center chain 2 space. And notice we just created another center chain 2 space again. If you would like, it does kind of help to go ahead and mark that until we get used to visually seeing it, especially when you're working with 2 yarns held together, so that you know that this is the point of the chain 2 center. And then after this, we will chain 1, and then we are going to double crochet 3 into the next chain 1 space. And then we are going to chain 1, and then in this very last space, we are going to do a double crochet at the top of the chain 3. So this is why when we chain 4, it counts as a double crochet plus a chain stitch, because now we are going to do a double crochet in the chain 3 from the previous row. And that is our row 2. For row 3, you'll still be holding 2 strands of yarn together. We're going to turn and chain 4. We are going to double crochet 3 into the chain 1 space. And then we are going to chain 1 and double crochet 3 into the next chain 1 space. And chain 1. And now in working in this center space, we are going to double crochet 3, chain 2. I'm going to remove my stitch marker here to get out of the way for a minute, and then we're going to double crochet 3. Then we will chain 1, double crochet 3 into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and work 3 double crochets into that last chain 1 space, chain 1, and then we will single crochet in that third chain stitch. And now that is row 3. So we have our first 3 rows, and row 3 is one that we repeat 2 more times for row 4 and 5. So for row 4, we will chain 4, and then 3 double crochet in the chain 1 space, and then we will work a chain 1 and 3 double crochet into each of these next chain 1 spaces. So it's a nice relaxing repeat once we get used to it. Chain 1 and 3 double crochet in the next chain 1 space, and then we will chain 1, and now we are going to work into the center chain 2 space. We are going to do 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And now we will chain 1 and do 3 double crochet in the next chain 1 space. Repeat that again. And if you notice with shawls, even if you switch weights because it's not a fitted item, it's much easier to substitute yarns if you want a yarn substitute when it comes to shawls, because they can, be adjusted much easier. Even though I'm working this up in a worsted weight and it'll work up larger, it's still a lot of fun. So in that last chain space, we will do 3 double crochets, chain 1, and double crochet the top of the chain 3. I can get in there, it's a little bit tight, there we go. And now we are on to row 5, which is simply a repeat of row 4. Chain 4, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space. So this is all actually a repeat of row 3. We're just repeating over and over, increasing the size of this shawl. All right, and now we are ready for row 6. So I will turn and I will chain 4. And this still counts as 1 double crochet in a chain stitch. And then I'm going to do 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space, and now I'm going to double crochet in every single stitch, including the chain stitches, until I get to that center part. So I'm going to double crochet until I reach that center chain 2 space. All right, now that we have arrived at the chain 2 space, I will do 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets again, all in that chain 2 space. And now I'm going to be working across this other side of the triangle, simply double crocheting in every stitch across until I get to that last chain space. And now that I have, oh, gotta get that stitch done right. Now that I have reached the last chain space, I'm going to do 2 double crochets. So there's 1 and 2 into that chain space. And now I'm going to chain 1 and double crochet at the top of the chain 3. And that is row 6. So now that we're done with row 6, I just want you to know that when you start working pattern repeats, we actually start with row 6 and we will work through row 13. So row 6 through 13 is your pattern repeat. So it's really not that complicated, and a lot of it's repeating what we've already done too. So you are on the right track. It really does not get complicated from here on out, and it really hasn't been complicated. So let's start with row 7. This is where we're going to bring in some beautiful treble stitches. We're going to turn our work and chain 5. This counts as 1 treble stitch plus 1 chain space. So now we are going to do a treble in the chain 1 space, which a treble is when you yarn over twice, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 on the hook. So there's your treble stitch. And then we will do a chain 1 again, and we are going to do a treble stitch into the next stitch. And this is where we are going to chain 1, skip 1, treble crochet. And that's going to be what we work all the way across to that center chain 2 space. So we chain 1, skip 1, treble crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, treble crochet. We're going to work that until we get to that center chain 2. And now that we have made it to the center chain 2 space, we are going to do a chain 1, treble 1 into the chain 2 space, chain 2, do another treble into the chain 2 space, and then a chain 1. And now we're going to continue to work right into that next stitch with a treble crochet. And now we're going to do our repeat until the end, where we do a chain 1, skip 1, treble crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, treble crochet. Work that all the way to the last chain space in the row. And now that we have come to the last chain space in the row, we are going to chain 1, do a treble in that chain space, then we will chain 1, and now we are going to do a treble at the top of the chain 3 from the row before. And turn. That's the end of row 7. For row 8, it's basically a repeat of row 6, except for the very ending, we're working in the top of the chain 4, not the chain 3. So we will start by chaining 4. There we go, we chain 4. And now we are going to do a 2 double crochet in this chain 1 space. And now we are going to be working a double crochet in every stitch, including the chain 1 spaces. So it's similar to what we did on row 6. We're just going to simply double crochet all the way across until we get to that center chain 2 space, and we are even working the chain spaces. So double crochet into every single stitch until you get to this chain 2 center space. And to note, I've had this question asked before. When you're working the chain spaces, do I work into the stitch or around the stitch? And what that is asking is if I put my hook through the stitch and kind of get above that back hump, or if I don't and I just double crochet around it. And as you can see, I just find it easiest and fastest to double crochet just into that chain space. But it's really something that's up to you. There's really not, what I found, a right or wrong way to do that when you're just working these type of stitches. Sometimes it matters, but for this pattern, it really doesn't, whether you want to chain into this space or into that stitch. And now that we've gotten to the chain 2 space, we are going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets all into that chain 2 space. And now we will continue to just simply double crocheting in every stitch until we get to that last chain space. And now that I've reached that last chain space, I'm going to double crochet 2 into that chain space, and then I'm going to chain 1 and double crochet in the top of the chain 3. And that is row 8. For row 9, we will once again chain 4. And then we are going to double crochet 3 into this chain 1 space. And now we are going to chain 1, skip 3, and double crochet, 3 double crochet. Now we're going to chain 1 again, skip 3 stitches, and 3 double crochet into the next. We're going to keep repeating that until we get to this chain 2 space. So chain 1, skip 3, and 3 double crochet into the next. Now for this center, I will double crochet, I will chain 1, skip 3, but now I'm going to be working into this chain 2 space. So I'm going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochet all into that chain 2 center space. And now to work back to the other side, I'm going to chain 1, skip 3, and 3 double crochet into the next. Chain 1, skip 3, 3 double crochet into the next. And now we are coming to this last chain space where we will chain 1, skip 3, and 3 double crochet into the chain space. And now we will chain 1 and double crochet at the top of the chain 3. and that is the end of row 9. Now the next row will be a repeat of row 3. I'm going to show you that, but it's actually repeated several times, so I'm only going to do this next row one time on camera. So this will be row 10. I'm going to chain 4, and then in the first chain space I'm going to do 3 double crochets. And now I'm going to chain 1, and in the next chain space work 3 double crochets. Chain 1, and then in the next chain space work 3 double crochets, and we're going to repeat that all the way until the center chain 2 space. And now that I'm at the chain 2 space, I will do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets again, all in the chain 2 space. And now I'm going to work to the end by doing a chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, and repeating that until that last chain space. And now we're at the last chain space. We will simply do 3 double crochets, chain 1, and do a double crochet in the top of the chain 3. And so for rows, let's see, 10 through 13, you will do the repeat of the row we just did. It's actually repeating row 3. So 10 through 13 just builds out this pattern out here. It repeats row 3. I'm not going to show those on camera. I'm actually going to skip to the picot edging. That way you can see how the edging is worked, since the rest of the pattern you're just building the size, doing lots and lots of repeats. So let's go ahead and get started on that picot edging. To do this, we're going to chain 2. This counts as a turning chain plus a chain 1 space, and we are going to do a 2 single crochets. Sorry, then we are going to do 2 single crochets into that very first chain space, and then we are going to single crochet into every stitch across, including those chain spaces. So just like the row that we double crocheted across, this time for the edging, we're doing a single crochet across until we get to that chain 2 center space. Now that we've gotten to the chain 2 space, we are going to single crochet 2, chain 2, and single crochet 2 into that chain 2 space. And now we are simply going to work the single crochet stitches in every stitch all the way to the end chain space. And now that we're at that last chain space, we are going to do 2 stitches in the chain space, chain 1, and then single crochet at the top of the chain 3. And that's row 1 of the picot edging. And now for the very last row, row 2 of the picot edging, and this will be the finishing row of your shawl. So to start, we're going to start off by doing a picot. If you've never done one of these, don't fret, they're not too bad. What they are, simply a picot is simply like a chain 3 where you also slip stitch back into it. And sometimes there are variations on this, but we will start by chaining 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then we are going to slip stitch into that first chain that we made, and that just creates a little bump. It's just a nice detail. So then we would do a single crochet into the very first stitch. So our picot did not use our very first stitch in the row, we just simply added it, and then we're doing a single crochet into that first stitch, and then we are going to do a single crochet into that chain space, Oh, I'm sorry. And then we are going to chain 1 and do a single crochet into the chain 1 space. And now we are going to single crochet into the next, and once again do a picot, which these are not taking up any stitches in our row, it's just a little extra bump on there. And now we are going to single crochet 3. And then we're going to repeat that. We're going to do a picot, chain 3, and then slip stitch back into the first chain, and we are going to single crochet the next into the next 3. So once again, a picot where we chain 3 and slip stitch back into the first chain, and then we single crochet into the next 3 stitches. And we're going to repeat that until we get to the center chain 2 space. And you can see it adds this really cute, nice detail along this bottom of the shawl. So I'm single crocheting 3 as I come to this center chain 2 space, and now I'm going to work into this center chain 2. I'm going to do a single crochet, and then I'm going to do a picot, and then another single crochet. And that kind of adds a nice detail right at the center point of our shawl. And now I will simply work my way back down. I'm going to do a single crochet in this next stitch. In the next 3 stitches, I'm going to do single crochets in the next 3. And now I'm going to do a picot, and then single crochet into the next 3. We're going to work that to the end of this shawl till we get to the chain 1 space. Now as I get to the end here, I have a single crochet stitch, and then I'm going to do a single crochet into the chain space. And now I'm going to single crochet at the top of the chain 2 from the row before. And then very last, I'm going to work 1 more picot to match the edge of the other side. And then this is where we will fasten off. And that's it. So we have this nice trim and this nice shawl repeat. And as you can see on the Picot shawl on my blog, I love the way it turned out with all these repeats. So we're simply doing what was found in the instructions, but the written instructions will give you the exact repeats and when you need to hold the yarn together for these groupings. And for the plain double crochet treble and plain double crochet rows, I did not hold the mohair, so only on these double crochet cluster areas. I think it turned out really nice. And then I also have a tutorial on how to make these tassels with a really cool tool that can also be found on We Crochet. I absolutely love it. I did it only in mohair because I thought it would be kind of fun. I'd never done a complete mohair tassel before, and I think it really kind of added something, but that is completely optional. Totally up to you. I love the way this turned out. I hope you do too. If you do make one of these, I'd love to see it. Please share it on social media and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more patterns in the future. Thank you so much for joining me today.